Hello and welcome to another GemCap Academy. And today it is my pleasure to introduce Thomas Schalow from a business called Fundfinity. And Fundfinity is a third-party marketing business which is part of a business called Value Research and Media. And good morning, Thomas. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks, Stuart, for having me today, and welcome everybody.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on board. Now, as you know, Thomas, and I'm sure you've seen some of our videos or blogs before, we like to talk about distribution, something that's is a passion of mine, something is within the DNA of GemCap as a business, and we like to introduce to our viewer get a better knowledge and understanding of what are the challenges and the opportunities in distribution in certain markets and in certain regions of the world. Now, you as a business have a very centralized element of your distribution, which is within a lovely acronym, which I should have known before, which is DACH, which is Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Deutsch, Austria, Österreich, and Switzerland. So when it comes to that region, which is often considered by many international managers, what do you think that they should be why should they be looking at that region as a market? What's the first thing that comes to your mind when thinking about that region?
Well, first of all, yeah, and this is really a great question. It's about market size and relevance. So if you have a look at the top markets in Europe, in terms of size, there is the UK, there is France, there's Germany and Switzerland. So those are the four biggest mutual fund markets in Europe. So from the perspective of an international manager, it makes a lot of sense if they want to tap into European markets and if they want to tap into the European Union with their asset management business, to have a closer look at these big markets first.
Okay, so clearly France and Germany, not just on their geographical size, but their population, but also, I guess, their take on of mutual funds makes them dominant markets, and obviously Switzerland in its own right as well. But if you're sitting in New York, there are some big challenges going outside of the US. And what do you think the biggest challenges for asset managers looking at entering the DACH region?
Yeah, it's tempting from let's say from a US perspective to deal with the European Union or the European fund market as well. It has a comparable size like the US. We can treat it the same way. But the truth, it's quite a little bit different. So we are talking about separate countries. We're talking about cultural differences. We're talking about language differences, and we're talking about completely different market structures. So even if you compare Switzerland and Germany, so they are in terms of culture, they're quite close. They are obviously neighbors, but if you compare the market structures of those two fund markets, they are completely different. Yeah. So in the German mutual fund market, there is this dominance of the private banking sector. So this is really massive, and in the dominance of private banks in Germany is something. This is really typical for that country. You can't compare it with, let's say, the UK market. Switzerland is totally different. There's only a handful of big private banks that dominate the market, but you have a vital family office and wealth management market there as well. Also, institutional segments and institutional investors have a totally different meaning. So if you wanna tap into one of those markets, you have to do your research. You have to be aware of the different market structures, and then adapt your strategy, your approach to those markets.
Okay, so clearly there's defined differences between those regions. I suspect from what you just said that there's very much, there's a Swiss market and then there's the rest of the market within the DACH region. And And I think a lot of investors will recognize Switzerland as a unique area, and you clearly define that. But again, if you're looking to go into that, what steps should they take? Clearly, research is one. Know your market, know your distributor, etc. But what are the steps that need to take? I want to bring into this really the sort of cultural and the regulatory challenges that you have within them in those markets, which may be different from other markets. What advice would you give to a manager?
So first, do your market research. Yeah, get an understanding of these markets, how they work. You can do this with external consultants, with external third-party marketeers, or you can build your own team. But you have to have a deep understanding of how these markets, how the market structures work in that market. First. Second, know your competitors. Yeah, do your competitor research in these markets. Get an understanding who are the relevant players in these markets. Yeah. And concentrate on your value proposition. So on the question, how can you add value to those markets? Yeah. So that's the next thing. I won't go too deep into the question of how to configure your value chain, your supply chain. Yeah, I mean, this is all regulatory stuff. You have to be compliant there, but there are suppliers like GemCap out there in the market who can help you be compliant and get your supply chain correct. Yeah. And then it's about focusing. Yeah, it's really about focus. So how can you add value to the markets? What is your value proposition, and how do you get that across to the segments that you wanna target there?
We do often have a break here just to go to the next bit. Okay, that's interesting. Thanks for that, Thomas, because when it comes to targeting a market, and obviously having been in fund sales, I understand this what we would call the rifle shot approach, that focus. And we often joke here in Europe that when international managers come from across the pond or from Asia, they want to do the whole of Europe, and we recognise that they don't realise that Europe is 26 different countries with 26 different values and challenges and opportunities. But when it comes to fund sales itself, there are a number of approaches you can do. Of course, you can do in-house. You have your own sales operation, and that's fine. Or you can try and go direct to market as far as the retail market. Well, good luck with that one, and that's a lot of money. The obvious choice really is third-party marketers, and we work with a lot of third-party marketers, yourselves included. Why do you believe fund managers should be looking at third-party marketers in this region in particular?
Well, in the end, it boils down to the very old make or buy decision that you have to make for this market. And I think the arguments they are quite straightforward. So working with a third-party marketer means this is the quicker solution. So there is an established organization that can help you tap into the market. They bring in local market know-how that otherwise you would have to build with investing in your own team.
Yeah.
They have established connections to investors, and they have the local market know-how. In general, working with a third-party marketer is not cheap, but it's the more cost efficient. It's the more cost efficient solution.
You get what you pay for. So.
Exactly. So it's regarded the more cost efficient solution. But in the end, of course, every asset manager have to come to their own decision. So if you have deep pockets, if you have the budget, and if you prefer to have direct access to the resource, then it's about building your own team. Yeah. So there's pros and cons for both solutions typically, and so we are targeting I would call it the mid size of the market, bigger, but not the top tier international asset managers, and they prefer to have this more flexible solution of having an external team getting in the market for them right away. And yeah, so they are quite happy with this kind of collaboration.
I think you've nailed it there. I think when you're looking at Europe, you again go into that rifle approach with a third party marketer, identifying the channel you want to go down, and obviously you're that target market. Let's just focus a little bit on those distribution channels, in particular in Germany and Switzerland. Now, you touched on it earlier on in the conversation, which is that Switzerland is slightly different from Germany. Can we just expand a little bit more? Let's focus on Switzerland. What are the key channels you feel that international investment managers should be targeting? And then, especially when it's working with yourselves, how can you assist them in that and make it more efficient?
But everything starts with knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, knowing the solution that you want to offer, knowing your value proposition. Yeah. And from there, most of the other questions fall into their place automatically. So it is a solution that is more suited for institutional investors. Is this something that retail or wholesale channels would be happy to sell to their clients? So it starts from there. Yeah. So then if you're clear on what part of the market you wanna target, then we can talk about well, how to attract and how to work with these channels. Yeah. So is it purely family offices, for example? Yeah, because you have some, let's say, hedge fund style strategy that suits very well family offices. Yeah, but not the risk appetite of wholesale channels. Or is it something that suits very well private banks? Yeah, for their distribution. Yeah. So and then we can explore what segment to target, and then later on, what are the concrete measures, yeah, that help to attract investors from that dedicated segment.
Okay, I mean, it's fund managers often think that their product is the best thing since sliced bread. You know, that's as we would say in the UK. If I may just slightly go off piece, when it comes to asset classes in Germany, for example, historically we've always believed that real estate was a big, and fixed income was a big play. But have the markets in Germany and Switzerland and Austria evolved in the sense of being more of an international play these days, or is it still a very real estate fixed income market?
Well, they had to adjust their investment style and investment behavior. I mean, we had this long term, this long period of low interest rates. Of course, fixed income was less attractive over the last 15 years, while real estate with this low financing costs, yeah, was now very, very attractive. In general, I think what we can say about the DACH fund markets is investors in those markets are less risk taking in comparison to the UK market, for example. Yeah. So fixed income traditionally plays a bigger role in this markets compared to the UK or the US.
Sure.
But again, yeah, over the last 15 years or so, investors had to adjust their investment behavior. So if there's zero interest rate, so then you have to switch to the equity side, yeah, to get a decent return for your capital. Yeah.
But it's clear that the fund managers have got to do their research. You know, it goes back to that point we made at the beginning, which is know your market, go out there, ask the questions, don't just create a product and then take it to market and hope they will buy it. And that is a common mistake that fund managers often make. What are the other common mistakes that you find that managers make when they're coming into the region?
Underestimating the time that is necessary to get into business. It's I mean, we have, let's take only Germany. There are roughly 250 bigger international asset managers with established brand. So if you want to compete with them, you have to build a brand first. Yeah. I'm not necessarily talking about big advertising campaigns, stuff like this, yeah. But you have to do some brand building. So you have to be around for a while. Investors have to know you. You have to meet people, yeah. You have to be aware with your brand through public relations, in the internet space, emailings, roadshows, whatsoever. So it takes some time to build a substantial business in those markets. Yeah. Don't expect too much too quick. You need to have a longer term business plan. Yeah. So you can't expect that you just get your structures, the strategy registered, and within 3 months the millions are rolling in. Yeah. So everybody wants to hear that, but here our duty as an advisor is to do some expectation management. Yeah. So you need to have at least one year. So the better time horizon is a couple of years. Yeah. To build a substantial and sustainable business in this region.
Well, you have to be in for the long term. You can't just rush into a market and expect. I mean, you touched on something there, Thomas, which is something which I'm very passionate about, which is that building the brand. Although I would argue actually brand is not something you can do in financial services. I think what you create is significant name awareness. Because brand for me is all about consistency, and of course we're subject to markets and currencies and all sorts of stuff. So I always argue against, although I'm sure BlackRock would disagree and probably say they've got a brand, but I think in the market we're talking about is creating that name awareness, and here we are, we're talking over Teams here. We'll be using this through LinkedIn later on. We'll be posting this through our various websites, etc. But what are the sort of digital marketing strategies that come into play now? I mean, this is, I'm coming towards the end of my career in digital marketing. I mean, that was a dream 30 years ago, but it's today. It seems to be more and more critical. What role do you think does it play, and how can fund managers adopt and develop their digital marketing strategy?
Well, digital marketing, digital distribution, it's everywhere nowadays. Yeah. Wow. So this is you can't live without it. You can't build a business without having some digital distribution capabilities. For smaller international asset managers, this is a challenge and an opportunity at the same time.
Yeah.
So the challenge is that there are these BlackRocks and Fidelities and JP Morgans. I mean, they have tons of stuff there. They have all of these content producing units. Yeah, they are producing tons of videos and articles and research. Yeah, and they've built real big content machines
Well,
blasting out their content all over the place.
Content is king. You know, if you got content, you've got something to say. I always say that. Sorry, I interrupted you.
So now let's talk about the opportunity. Of course, you can't, as a smaller asset manager, you can't compete when it comes to quantity, but with nowadays with very small budgets and limited resources, you can compete when it comes to quality, when it comes to focus, and when it comes to niche markets. Yeah. And so when I started my career 25 years ago in asset management, in marketing, yeah, so everything was about big advertising campaign, was about newspapers and television and so on. Nowadays, I mean, you need your LinkedIn account, yeah, you produce some great content, and here we go. Yeah. So with very little resources, you can have a big impact there. Yeah. And this is what really changed. So here it's easier for international managers to reach out to their target nowadays using all these new digital channels. Another challenge, of course, is the multitude of channels and opportunities that you have nowadays. Yeah, I mean, look at social. Yeah, there's not only LinkedIn, there's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's Insta, and so on. Yeah.
But seriously, would a fund manager consider X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok? I mean, really? Do fund managers? I mean, LinkedIn seems to be the business, you know, the channel of choice as far as businesses, but those others seem to be very more mass market retail. We talked earlier on about building a brand and name awareness. I mean, is that where fund managers should be focusing as well as LinkedIn? Should they be looking at the retail space to build that brand awareness, or is it stretched too far?
It depends. It depends on your strategy. It depends on the segments you're targeting, and the market you're in. Of course, LinkedIn. I mean, this is natural. Everybody does LinkedIn nowadays. This B2B platform, and this is the place to be. Twitter can have a great impact as well. I think Twitter or X is something that is underestimated as a channel also for professional content that you can share there. I agree with you. I wouldn't go for Instagram, for example. I haven't seen many financial service providers who are playing this channel very successful, especially if you are into a B2B business.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I mean, we touched on technology a little bit there with the social media element. Technology for me is turning on my computer, but clearly there are bigger developments elsewhere, particularly with AI and ChatGPT and all sorts of things. I mean, I wrote an article recently about AI in sales, and one fund selector here in the UK, when I asked him for the article, I said, where do you see artificial intelligence in fund sales? And he turned around and said, I'd like to see any intelligence, never mind artificial, in sales, in fund sales, which I have to say made me laugh. But I think there's a lot of AI in the funds world, particularly on the fund selection, stock selection and liquidity stress testing and all sorts of technical aspects. But in fund distribution, fund marketing, where do you see AI and automation? Where do you see automation working to help optimize sales and marketing? Where do you see that developing?
So first of all, AI, I mean, this is the elephant in the room for the asset management industry, and it's touching every single bit and every part of the value chain of asset managers. Yeah, this obviously starts from building great products. Yeah, building strategies that have a great value proposition. You can use AI nowadays to gather all that data to find gaps in the product landscape, for example. This is about portfolio management. Yeah, so currently there are several discussions going on how AI will influence, or will AI replace the human portfolio manager in a certain time frame from now. So for us as third-party marketeers, obviously this is nothing we're gonna influence. So this is something that our partners, the asset managers, need to do. But there are even today, I mean, everybody is now experimenting with ChatGPT and other large language models. So the obvious use case is producing content, producing sales and marketing content. This is where it really can help you generate ideas for great content, speeding up the whole process of writing great investment articles. This can influence your whole presentation activities. AI bots can help you speed up customer service. Yeah, answering investor requests in a more speedier and substantial way. Okay. This can help you answer any kind of requests. Yeah, requests for proposals that you receive from bigger investors. Yeah, in a more structured way. So there's a multitude of opportunities you can have a look into, and yeah, but again, for marketing and sales, it's obvious what you can do there currently.
Thank you for that. Let's focus a little bit more on the whole data play, because again, data is critical. If you own the data, you own everything, I would say. And data analysis is something which I think in fund sales and fund distribution, I don't think we play too much on. I mean, I always say that it's very important to know who you're going to talk to, but it's very important to know what you know of that person, as in their decision-making process, the products they're buying, etc., so that you get a full picture of your target market and the channels you're going down. What role do you think we'll see data analysis play in future sales success, and how do you think they can and how do you think investment managers can utilize this efficiently and successfully?
Obviously, I mean, there is this old saying, data is the new oil, right? This is also true for the asset management industry. When it comes to client data, but if you have a look at fund to fund, for example, so in terms of market intelligence, this is a great example. You can have a look into them. There are a multitude of tools how you can look into that strategy, find about the approach of the fund manager, looking for any gaps or competitors that you can beat with your strategy, so that you get into your pitch very well prepared. That's one thing. The other thing is, so when we look at our organization at Fundfinity, so CRM, so this plays such a vitally important role here in our company. So we have a dedicated team who's just dealing with CRM, with doing market intelligence, with learning about investors, feeding our CRM system with all kind of information we can gather about certain investors, about the market, about the person, the investor, and their behavior. So we're feeding the system so that we can even more sharply focus and reach out to investors with with strategies, with proposals. And this is exactly what the market requires. Yeah, it's not shooting out one message at the whole market.
Yeah.
It's about being very selective, knowing your target group, knowing their preferences, knowing your value proposition, and then in a laser sharp way reaching out to them. And this is how CRM and a great CRM tool really can support you.
Yeah.
And so I've seen really adventurous examples in the past, how some asset managers, even larger ones, are managing their customer database, still with Excel kind tools, and so those really need to upgrade their strategies.
Well, I think you've nailed it on the head, which is we all know how we like to be treated. We like to be felt that whoever's coming to us, that we're important to them. And if you're not careful, if you don't use the tools correctly, then you're basically just doing a very broadsheet approach, and the customer's not going to feel that they're warranted, that they're not made to feel good about who they are. So they're just going to dismiss you, and they can see it's a blanket marketing thing. And things have changed over the years, and no doubt about it. I mean, a CRM didn't exist 30 years ago, and Excel spreadsheets were very common. Then we had Salesforce and other things, and there's a whole new development. But as we move forward as we get forward into 2025 and 26, 28, where do you see the changes in fund sales? Let's have your crystal ball now. We're sitting there across the table. You're looking at the crystal. Where do you see fund sales over the next 5 to 10 years? And I'll revisit this in 5 to 10 years we'll replay this.
Hopefully, let's see how good my predictions have been. So this is why I concentrate on the easy ones. So first one, digitalization will make its way. Yeah, it will be even more important. Part of digital will be AI.
Yep.
And AI will be a complete game changer for the whole industry. What we can see, and this has been a trend that we observed the last year, is this ROPO attitude of the investors: research online, purchase offline. This is something we can now observe in the asset management world as well. Even sophisticated investors, they start doing their online research first. Yeah.
Right.
So and in the best case, later on down the road, if they did their research and found the solution they're interested, they get in touch with you as an asset manager. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time they will buy directly via their fund platform or the bank. Yeah. So online presence, and here it comes back to content. Yeah, creating great content that people like, that where people find value in the content that you produce as an asset manager and share with them, will make your brand top of the mind when it comes to real investment decisions. So technology in general will be a playing level field. Yeah, so the technology is available. It's much cheaper now. Have a look at AI tools. Have a look at CRM tools. So everybody can use them. It now costs them only a fraction of what they had cost 10 years ago. Another trend that we observe is of course the discussion active versus passive. It goes on. Yeah. So
let's start. Well, what about structures as well? Because we have a massive growth in the ETF space.
Yeah.
But then you have and I'm constantly being told ETFs are the future. I don't disagree with that comment. However, the problem we have is the technology for the platforms isn't there. So a lot of platforms can't buy. I'm talking from a UK perspective now. I'm sure it's pretty much the same in Europe, but the platforms can't buy the ETFs because they can't do, for example, fractional shares. So you've got the technology holding back the development, and so there's a bit of a catch up. I mean, do you see other elements of product development which fund managers should be looking at other than ETFs?
Well, I think it's not a good advice for every asset manager to tap into the ETF business. I think you should concentrate on your core strengths. And this is, for most of our partners, at least, this is actively managing portfolios.
Yeah.
And I think currently we see a lot of mediocre solutions in the market, sold by big brand asset managers with just great brands and offering the whole of the market. But there is, if you position yourself as an active manager, if you really provide value in a certain niche, this is the best way to play it. Yeah, focus, deliver real active asset management. Yeah, and obviously provide exceptional results for your investors.
Perfect. Thomas, thank you so much. We've covered a huge amount of ground today, and I really appreciate it. I won't revisit in 5 years' time, but we might just mention this on a regular basis. Your contact details will be on our website and on the LinkedIn, so people can get in touch with you if they want to be able to looking at the German, Austrian, and Swiss market. But in the meantime, Thomas, thank you so much. Have a great rest of 2024, and we'll speak soon. All the best.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me today, and the great interview and your great questions. So, and talk to you again soon. Thank you. Bye everybody.